Good to go, Payal? So, hello, namaste, namaskar, good afternoon, good morning, or maybe even good evening in whichever part of the world you are joining us from. My name is Deepak R. Khemani, and I am one of the co-founders of Loop. Along with my other two co-founders, Abhijit, who is here, and Payal, whom you can see there in that window. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to this 245th 245th non-stop Sunday Bloom Talk Show. Exactly 245 weeks ago, during the time of COVID, we started wanting to do a little bit, wanting to speak with people who are change makers, teachers, trainers, coaches, mentors, athletes, doctors, nurses, anybody who has done something and in their own way they are trying to make this world a better place to be in. In 245 episodes, we have covered all the seven continents of the world. Yes, you heard it right. A person who has been to Antarctica twice has been represented on the Bloom platform. So from the Americas, Africa, East Asia, West Asia, South Asia, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, you name it, and they have graced our platform. Continuing in that series, we have a very special guest today with us. Joining us live is Shalini Chopra, and she will be talking about how to integrate neuro and behavioral science to shape mindsets. Interesting. I will just introduce Shalini in a little bit. I'll just read out a little bit of what she does and what she is. And then we'll ask her to tell us a little bit about what she does, why she does that, and how she is helping change people's lives. So Shalini is a professional practicing coach since the past 14 years. And her expertise is backed by primary research over 23 years. She has over 10,000 hours of coaching experience. She's worked with C-suite and executive leaders, and she's also a successful entrepreneur, and she works with them too. She is a credentiated PCC from ICF and a certified practitioner of NLP from Richard Bandler School. He's also a certified leadership coach from the Certified Coaches Alliance and a certified assessor of judgment index. If there is anything else I may have missed, Shalini, Shalini, please do tell us, and over to you. Tell us a little bit about what you do, why you do it.
Okay, it's always interesting to start from the beginning, isn't it? And so I was born and raised in Jamshedpur, the famous Tata town. And first 18 years of my life, 17 and a half, I was there. And my dad was working with Tata Motors. That back then it was called Telco. And I grew up with stories about Ratan Tata because that time he was in Jamshedpur learning, how to become good at everything. And I remember my dad working closely also, like others, working closely with him. So one thing that stayed with me was his leadership style that, I want to first learn from the shop floor before I start leading people and leading enterprises. Because again, there the obvious choice was either engineering or the Tata hospital, so either medical or engineering. I wanted to pursue medical, but as a backup option, I had taken maths as well. And because I was kind of clear that botany zoology is not my cup of tea. So I said, okay, maths will come to save me in case I don't make it to the medical school. And I didn't. So then I pursued BSc Computer Science. And very interestingly, in 12th, when we were filling those forms of entrances, etc., I had made a passing remark, which later someone had recollected to me that, by the age of 38, 40, I will move to the US and I would love to study either philosophy or psychology. And that was the first and last time I said that. Didn't know where it came from. I studied my MBSc computers. I did my MS software systems and MBA. And after MBA, I applied for software engineering jobs. And that was where the deviation was, because usually we would go into the management track, etc. I had specialized in finance, also in sales. And I was constantly being asked this question that after MBA, why a software engineer?
Mm.
And my clarity was that I narrated that story that I'm inspired by Ratan Tata. I want to start here. I know I want to be a people manager, but I want to learn how apps are developed, how we deal with customers. So that convinced the leader, and I started my job in Billasoft. And then I moved on to becoming a people manager within first 2 years, grew as per my passion. I used to raise my hand constantly for risky projects, and come 2008, which was a very difficult year, many would remember from my era, and we had only 2 promotions that year for our organization. So that's when I had discussed with my CEO that promotion is okay. I was selected as one of those, but I want to now move to the org level in the talent space, because by then I had been recognized for my stakeholder management skills, my client management skills, because I had also been to UK. And the place that I was the head office of SHL, which was one of the champions of leadership assessment tools and products. So I'm also sharing how the dots connect in life. So I was there as a business leader. And when I came back and this promotion was being discussed, I said it's time to step up at the org level and help people do better, not just restrict to my account, which I was dealing with. So from being a business leader, I moved to the talent space. And along the line, I was pursuing a passion. Since 2000, I was exposed and I was in the personal transformation journey through Vedanta and through, so Dr. Jaya Rao has been my guru, and she's based in Mumbai. Till date, I follow her. And of course, I just incidentally picked up a book on NLP in the year 2000. It was authored by Tony Robbins. That time I didn't know it was NLP. I just found the book fascinating because I was going through a personal journey of transformation because I had experienced a huge setback in life. So reading, because it was my passion, I was using that as a strength. And these two coincidences reveal to me that I'm like an innate learner of how people think, how they behave, what motivates them, what does not. So along the software engineering projects that I was doing, I was constantly studying about people and human behaviors. The first, in fact, certification I did on coaching was way back in 2005-6, when in India hardly anybody had heard about it. So there was Dr. Dipankar Khanna, who took us through a 5-day program. So coming back to 2008 and then 2011 is when I discovered that, this is the purpose I'm made for. Through the teams that I lead, I'll be able to only impact a certain number of people. If I can help some leaders transform, the impact will be thousands of people. And actually, then I set out on a mission of making this world biased towards humanism. Because my belief is, again, coming from Vedanta, that we are very powerful as human beings. If we discover our human self, rest all will fall into place.
Mm.
you know and that's why, just like I had the opportunity and blessing to discover my inner power and strength and shine, now I'm on that mission to help others discover their inner power, explore all possibilities and impact as many lives. So that's
Wonderful.
maybe a
Wonderful.
long answer, but that's my story.
No, no, no. This program is all about long answers. The guest. We need to take the best out of the guest who's here on the show, so that we can learn from their experiences. And just distill what works for us. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. So my first question to you is actually this: what brings in a person's head the thought that they can improve? Most of us would feel that, I have done this, I have got X experience, I have reached this place because of my hard work and my expertise. Why would I want to go to somebody else and ask them, please help me, or, let me go to the next level? How does that happen?
So if in one line I can tell you in a first very simple way, as humans, we are more motivated towards, avoiding fear, avoiding risks, rather than paving a path towards benefits and growth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, but through conditioning that we experience as children and as we grow up, we could take different paths.
Hmm.
So as adults, because I work more with adults, as adults, when we show up, a person could be very motivated by a situation. Like I said, I used to raise my hand for risks because from childhood, that was my journey. There could be another person who could completely avoid risks,
Hmm.
right? So what motivates an individual could be very unique to them. And that's why diversity wins, because each of us is unique. What is the motivator behind? So that is what we try to understand, in the coaching journey, in the development journey. What is the true motivator? And then contextualize the journey for that person. Otherwise, it'll
Hmm.
never make sense.
Yes. So this one was about self-awareness, me or that person who's the C level, executive coach or C-suite person or leadership guy, CEO, CIO, whoever. Then there are people who need to be pushed. You are not utilizing your full potential. Or if you do this, or if you get coached, or if you get mentored, you can multiply 5x, 10x. How do you convey to that person who may or may not be ready?
We have to first help again. Like you said, self-awareness is where it always starts.
Yeah.
We do not convey. We make that person aware that how he or she is restricting their flight. Okay. So if I take a very common example, there are many people who say that, no, I don't want to disturb my team. I just don't want that my team should go through inconvenience. And therefore, I try to be polite and soft. Now, that is that person's definition or narrative that he's playing in his head. And mind you, this is a CEO. I'm giving real examples. Okay. Now, how does it show up as behavior? Or he doesn't take difficult decisions. He avoids conflicting
Hmm.
discussion.
Yeah.
Now, conflict in most cases has been seen as a negative, right? But conflict is a foundation to leading collaboration in teams.
Hmm.
Conflict is always behind and around any negotiation that you have to do with internal stakeholders or external, whoever the stakeholder in your life. Okay. So the person is inconvenient or uncomfortable about being disliked or not liked,
Yeah.
wants to continue to maintain that popularity quotient. So the narrative is paid, no, I don't want my people to be unhappy. I generally want people around me should be happy. So he's giving a positive narrative, a spin to that experience or story. But the result is that he's stopping from learning how to communicate in challenging situations. For those who've always studied organizational behavior, they're aware that for a leader to lead a team which is, of 10 high potential team members is far more challenging than someone who has, just a couple of high potential or staff performers. Because when
Hmm.
they're full of high potential, there'll be far more conflicts in the team.
Yeah.
And if I am uncomfortable about discussing these, conflicting ideas or contradictory ideas or divergent ideas, as we call it, I will never even start the conversation. I will not be able to build the trust. I will not be able to draw innovative ideas. Everybody will
Hmm.
be speaking from the same script.
Yeah.
So coming back to the question, how do you convince that someone? You have to get that person to see that other perspective and remove. And once that person is aware, he or she knows, okay, this is what is the challenge. So those barriers are then removed by the person himself.
So I just like to take this thing forward. You said previously that uh, what happened to you, what you saw when you were young. You saw your dad on the shop floor, and Ratan Tata said that I need to work on the line before I can rise up and get to that leadership. So most of these people who are at leadership positions just now, I'm just putting two and two together, are there because of their child or their earlier experiences.
Yeah.
There may be potential in a person, but some sort of behavior or some sort of experience has made them become who they are. Previously, behavior and science were never spoken in the same word. I'm talking a few decades ago. Now
Yeah.
people talk about behavior and science. So when did behavior become a science? Or when did science start looking into behavior and telling, no, 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 let's do some research on this and find out ye kya chal.
I think it's a journey that researchers have taken where the research was more subjective, say 60, 70 years ago, and gradually there were scientific tools, there were gadgets, there were mechanisms to record observations and data in a far more sophisticated scientific manner. And because there are brain scans, now we have brain scans and MRIs that actually prove that neuroplasticity helps a brain to learn at any age. Till even when we started our career, or even later than that, it was considered, oh, 5 years, 6 years is the max till when a brain really develops, and rest is just reprocessing of that in different situations. Then that changed to around 21, 25 years, that till 25 you can learn. Now we are talking of, because MRIs and scans have proven that it can be done, and there are scientific methods to do that. Now there are a lot of coaches there who are specialists, who will make it look very simple, and that's their forte, that's their expertise. So people like me will never throw jargons, because that's only knowledge. you know they will not throw the jargons. It is, we take them through the journey. And the deepest and most impactful and effective communication happens when I talk from my unconscious mind to your unconscious mind, to the receiver's
Hmm.
unconscious mind. And so there are scientific tools and techniques and mind tools that help in doing that. And we use that for the journeys, and then we also impart that to the leaders who have to work with people.
You use this word which is called neuroplasticity. For the uninitiated, for somebody who's never heard about this before, tell us what neuroplasticity is, how it works, and how does it shape us?
Okay, so we know we have neurons. We know there are wiring between neurons, and that's how messages flow. The response and the stimuli in a very simple way, right? Now, it's like, if I have to drive, let's say, example of a manual car. If I've been driving for 30 years a manual car, and then I have to shift to an auto car, automatically my hand and my legs will go to the gear and the clutch, etc. And there are accidents that happen because of that. That really is autopilot mode of the brain, because that wiring is so reinforced, right? And that we are, without thinking, we can really, just like we breathe,
Yes.
right? A lot of the physiological basic activities to keep us breathing and active and living is taken up by that autopilot mode, or the unconscious mode of the mind. Now, to change from that neural programming, we have to recondition the mind. We have to change the messages that are ingrained in our neural systems.
Hmm.
And that's how neuroplasticity helps. So the more we use it, the more we expose ourselves to unknown conditions, the more our mind remains active, the more it remains agile, and therefore it remains in a learner mode. So
Hmm.
there's a deep link between neuroplasticity scientifically and the learning ability of a person.
So I'm just trying to take, a small takeaway from what you said just now. The understanding now is probably as you keep on growing older, your neuroplasticity keeps on reducing
if it is not used.
if it is not used.
Just like our bones,
Yeah.
like any other part of the body.
So how do you keep this neuroplasticity plastic or elastic? How do you see to it that I'm not going into that zone where I'm not taking full advantage of it? Or as you said, if I don't exercise, there will come a point beyond a point when the body will say, no, I don't want to exercise. So how do I then either rewire or reprogram my brain, or you said NLP techniques? How do we do that?
So something which is spoken of very commonly and many people will be aware of, but it is deep rooted in science, is that continue to learn something new. Something that involves your brain and your physiology and your body, not just one aspect. So
Hmm.
it could be a sport, it could be dance, it could be music, it could be any such skill that you like. But music and dance are one of the learning mechanisms which have a deeper impact, much huge impact on keeping the mind agile and young, because it uses the whole brain, unlike other activities. So that is one way of doing it. And when I say, so there could be people who say, no, no, now it's too late because I'm old, so I'm in the 55 or
Yes.
65
Yes.
year category. So you
Yes.
have movements that are safe, you do it within that, so then you may do it in a guided way. So there are trainers for everything. So if I share personally my story, I have always been a learner.
Hmm.
Every 6 months or 1 year, I would always take up something new, commit to learning something new, be it
Yeah.
painting, be it a new language, be it dance, and never bothered about the age. That's again a barrier. That's a mindset, like this. That's a
Yes.
mindset which dictates our behavior, that
Yeah.
no, I can't do it.
Yes. I'm now old, or I'm too old,
Yeah.
or I'm too
But
young to start. Maybe. Yeah.
so too young for what?
Yeah.
Okay, so how does that stop you?
Yeah.
The minute one is used to asking oneself these questions, our own barriers will drop.
Hmm.
And we will go gradually through neuroplasticity, we'll go into that mode of always challenging ourselves. Whenever we see a barrier, we'll say, oh, but what if I could do it in a different way? Then we are telling our mind that no, I am not going to take this as an answer.
Hmm.
Give me some other answers, better answers. So mind is a great slave, very bad master. So you have to train the mind. And that's what we
Hmm.
do through neuroscience, and then it shows up in behaviors and
Mind is a
mindset.
great slave. You have to master them.
Yes.
At this point, let me ask you this. Are some individuals naturally more adaptable to change? And I'll just give you two or three ideas which you can then shed light on. Is there a particular culture? Is there a particular community? Is there a particular way of building? Or even is there a particular climate or geography where you find these sort of people? It says in Japan, if you stay in this area, people live till 110 years. If you eat this sort of a food, you live till 110 years. Hema Malini is almost touching 80. But, a lot of South Indian children, when they are brought up dance, Kathak and Bharatanatyam and all, they keep on practicing, they keep on moving their body. And, so is there truth to what I just said?
What you said is a outcome of conditioning that we go through. And conditioning is of two kinds, conscious or unconscious. Most of it is unconscious, so we are not aware of it. Okay. But to lead the right kind of life that we define for ourselves, we have to consciously commit to practices, to using our body and mind and soul in a certain way. Because, like I said, we all have the power. Some of us practice it in the right way, and so the outcome is visible either way. Who don't do it, there also it is visible. So the key is, how are you conditioning or reconditioning your mind? This very common statement that one hears, especially as a coach, is, oh, but that's how I am. That's how he
Hmm.
is. That's how she
Yes.
is.
Yes.
That, I would say, is sheer laziness. Very softly we try to pass on the responsibility. No, but that's how I am. That's because it takes effort to change. It takes practice. I'll give you again a very common example of driving. I learned driving in 5 minutes. Okay. Why? Because there was a person, my friend, who sat beside, told me this, these are the gears, gave me all the knowledge about it. I practiced for the next 2, 3 weeks to implement what I had learned in those 5 minutes, to develop, to pick up those skills of driving. And when I practiced, I made sure I have the right conditions. I cannot go in the middle of peak traffic. I
Yes.
started in lesser traffic. I
Yeah.
planned what time of the day. I made time for it.
Yeah.
Okay. I did not say no, but today I don't have time. If I don't make the time, I'll not learn. Then it took me up to 6 months to become master
Yeah.
of driving skills, because it's one of my strengths. So I'm talking about that. So I wanted to be very good at it. Now, what did that 6 months do? I took it on different terrains,
Hmm.
different conditions, different kind of cars,
Yeah.
different mental states, right? So from learning about it in 5 minutes to
Yeah.
practicing it to more practice to become a champion or master at it.
Yeah.
That is what any learning process takes. But the challenge is that for behavioral skills and mindset conditioning, we have not been taught that this has to be the journey.
Hmm.
Today, now it's been 14 years as a professional coach. So initially around 2014-15, I had quite a few cases where I was talking to my past colleagues or known people that in my network that maybe this is a program that can help you, you should consider it. No, but everyone believes that I'm already a leader, so I know it all. I'm supposed to.
Exactly. Yeah.
The minute I say that I'm learning, I will be seen that, oh, till now I didn't have it. Today, I get frantic calls from these people in the last, in fact, 2 years. And they want, oh, what you were saying, Shalini, was actually for my benefit only. And I've lost time. And after they realize it, now they want to get a capsule and get some overnight change in their personality, behavior, thinking, and mindset. That doesn't happen. You still have to go to that 5 minute, 3 week, 6 months, 1 year, whatever that time frame based on what you want to learn.
Yeah.
That becomes another barrier. Then they realize that no, that will not work. With further dents and challenges that they experience in their life, then they commit to learning in the right way. Some people study about it and are convinced that this is the right way to do it, so they are more open to it. But so, like Stephen Covey says, each one has to start from where they are and
Yes.
not where they think they are or where they want to be. And that difference is what defines the difference in the learning journeys of each person. I work with
Yes.
numerous now. So again, I
So,
go back to the emphasis on self-awareness. If the self-awareness, self-discovery is done right, then, and self-awareness also, there are a lot of misconceptions. Uh, Research says that 90-95% of us think that we are self-aware, but the reality is around 15% only a self.
hmm.
Because self-awareness is how I think about myself, who I am, and also how I show up as a person.
Hmm.
So that visibility about awareness about how I show up as a person needs far more coverage and awareness.
You gave that example. You said that a lot of people will say that, this is who I am, or this is the way, I am, this is the way I behave, this is the way I was brought up, this is what I have learned, and this is what I do. How do you then, make these people understand that this is actually a limiting belief, or there is a potential which you probably don't understand? I can help you get there. How then do you convince this sort of a person to break out from where they are?
That's where the power of questions come in. We throw certain questions at them where they can challenge their own self.
Yeah.
But that also can be done only to an extent.
Hmm.
That's why they say that the teacher appears when the learner is ready.
Is ready. Yes.
We cannot teach, we can only bring it to their awareness as much as they are ready. right? Otherwise, they will have a contradiction. So again, mind is a powerful tool we have, right? We can argue from either side. We can debate on a subject from either side. So if I've taken a stand that I have to contradict this person, my mind will give all the powerful ideas.
Hmm.
So in the power, that's what is a very important aspect of the transformation journeys that I, work with. What is the question you're asking yourself?
What is
That
the
can
question
change the
you are
entire
asking yourself? Wow.
that can change the entire journey of your life.
Yeah.
It's like, so again, from real experiences, like you may be aware, I've been a ex-CHRO as well. I've been a business leader. I've been in various boardroom kind of, conversations and other conversations. There is a distinct set of people who will always, whenever we are talking about strategy, whenever we are talking about some big challenge that the organization or a team is facing, there
Yeah.
are some people who will always talk of why not? Why should we
Hmm.
not do it? The starting
Hmm.
conversation, starting thread is from there. And
Yeah.
some people will always talk about how to.
Hmm.
These are two simple questions: why we should not do it and how we should do it. The mind will give you those answers. And that's, neuroscience.
So,
And when
you,
over a period of time, that becomes your natural personality, natural behavior. And that is what is seen as a growth mindset. So growth mindset is a very fancy word, a simple word, and used buzzword. But there are
yeah.
a lot of underlying thinking processes, thinking frames, and behavioral patterns to reach that. Yeah, and especially people who, so I have the privilege of working with most CXOs, and they are all very accomplished people,
Hmm.
by the worldly definition, as I call
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Why I say worldly definition? Because each of them has their own gray area and their own challenges,
Yeah.
which they will discuss only with the coach, because that's a trusted relationship, and that's the
Yes.
most non-judgmental relationship. When you have reached a certain level of success, that's when you are scared of losing it,
Hmm.
right? Fear of loss
Yeah.
of that image, of that successful image that you have gained. And then if you have to become a beginner at something, you think, oh, here I'm at a score of 10 on leadership, on people. And today I have to learn how to cook, but I will do pathetic if I go for a contest or I go for a dance competition. I
Yeah.
won't be able to start.
Yeah.
So becoming a beginner at something when you're already very successful and competent at some other thing, that's
Yes.
where the challenge is.
Yeah.
Often we say, oh, I'm a beginner. We should be a beginner. There are lots of quotes around it that float
Yeah.
in the social media. But the
Yes.
real challenge is to be both a champion at some things and still a
Yeah.
beginner at some things.
Yes.
These are again real examples where, in the coaching journey, the transformation journey, they pick up this. And once they let go of that fear of loss of that image, it's not
Hmm.
really a loss, but that's the mindset and conditioning we've given ourselves, then we can learn anything. And life is full of learning, and it's a lifelong journey of learning. And those are the leaders who consistently grow. They are not a flash in the pan success. They are not just a heroic success of one or two, scenarios. So,
So, you in your corporate career, you work with a lot of different level of leaders, and now you are coaching them. You are working with CXOs and C-suite leaders. Have you ever come across, or has this ever happened where you actually find somebody who is at a leadership position, but who actually doesn't deserve to be there?
oh,
How do you
many,
tell that person?
many.
Yeah, how do you tell that person you don't deserve to be there? Or, let me take you to the next level, or let me make you deserving of the seat with your office.
So I will highlight one recent case again. So this person was in the banking industry. I worked with him 2 years ago, and he worked in one of the most leading banks of the country, and was always very successful, looked up, as a career person, as a leader, and made all the money and the career growth path, etc. And then he shifted his organization. When he changed his organization, he went to an organization which had a very different culture.
Mm.
And that's where his lack of ability to take people along kind of got exposed.
Yeah.
And in the conversations, what emerged was that he is a taskmaster. He doesn't let people think. So
Mm.
there was widespread lack of trust, lack of confidence in his team. Now the team
Mm.
was already in that organization for some time, so people had seen the performance of the team. It's the leader who had come in new, okay, with just another couple of changes at his DR level. And people start saying we are not able to perform to our potential. We are not able to think because he doesn't let us speak in meetings. And on conversations and discovery, what emerged is that he thought, I'm saving time, quick decisions.
Mm.
Basically, he was used to leading by handing over the fish,
Yeah.
not guiding his
Teaching
team.
them how to think.
Yes. And at this stage, it became a crisis for him. And it took a while for him to even accept, first become aware, and then after awareness is an important step, which is acceptance, which is where a lot of people struggle. Acceptance of the fact that, oh, I can also fail, I can also be rejected as a leader. That's where we have to also see what is the self compassion the leader has. How has he conditioned his own mind? How has his life conditioned him or her to become the leader? And then we work on removing those barriers. Again, unconscious programming of the mind,
Mm.
because consciously otherwise the person will feel judged. So it has to be handled very softly. So there are leaders. Now this leader was ready. There could be leaders who are not ready.
Mm.
And in the initial assessment that we do, it is pretty evident if the leader will open up or not to learning. Now,
Mm.
the delta that every leader goes through, like if we pick up a group of 5 leaders within an organization, it is very evident, and the seniors understand the delta that each leader will go through that journey will be different.
Yeah.
But if there is a leader who's going to be a sticky case, who's just not open to even listening, and because of the past maps, there have
Mm.
been cases that I have suggested that this is not the transformation journey that this leader is ready for yet.
Yeah.
Then we recommend other ways of approaching that. And sometimes it is several times it is because of the childhood conditioning, how the parents treated them, how the friends treated them, how the school treated them. And that's why that's another passion and commitment that I have, that during childhood, how do you talk and communicate with your children and the
Yes.
youngsters? It is
Yeah.
very important because their challenges are what I deal with when they grow up. That comes to, so I've seen the
Yeah.
outcomes,
Yeah.
I've seen the outcomes of that.
I mean, just a carry forward question on what you said just now. Do you believe that some of these concepts of NLP or behavioral science or neuroplasticity and all should actually become part of curriculum? Not maybe early school level, maybe late school level, maybe college. Because what happens is I'm graduating, I'm telling the world I'm available in the market to work, to lead. But then, no, I need to find an NLP coach. I need to find a leadership coach. I need to search for a mentor who will teach me this and this. What if this was brought in earlier?
Sorry, can you repeat the last line? I missed that.
The question was if a little bit of all of this was brought in earlier within the curriculum, within the teaching
See,
process.
lately, in a lot of these cities, the schools are trying to bring it in, but again, that's being brought in as an academic, as a theory. It
Yeah.
will not. It will not help. This is all conditioning. Is all practice,
Hmm.
right? And when a teacher or an educator who's trying to impart the skill of, let's say, patience or courage
Yeah.
or resilience, that teacher has to first have that skill.
Not only that, they have a timetable in which to finish it.
Correct.
So how will resilience come in?
So it's not about saying that calling out the definition. There's a big difference, and this applies to all of us. There's a big difference between knowing the name of something and knowing
Yeah.
something. And most of us are happy at knowing the name of something, especially in today's world, because everything is available. But that everybody knows. That's why I say empathy cannot be outsourced or delegated. Courage cannot be outsourced or delegated. Decision skills, you know, decision is such an important skill for a leader. The way the leader arrives at a decision again depends on his mindset. Mindset, right? Is it fast? Is it slow? Does it consider all inputs? Am I listening only to certain people when I'm trying to, collect inputs? Because I don't like certain people, they make me uncomfortable. Certain of my colleagues, they are very brilliant with ideas, but I'll not even reach out to them, for their thought process or their insights. No, no, no. Avoid. This is what happens on a day-to-day, interaction to interaction level.
Yeah.
And that's what results in the outcomes that we see.
Yeah.
So,
I thought I should ask you this question. So in the last few years and decades, we've seen the rise of women leaders, especially in corporate India. So are women wired differently? And when I say wired differently, not of their biological structure, but thought processes, leadership skills. Does being brought up as a girl, as a female, probably getting married and having children and working also and managing the house also and doing multiple jobs, does that give you better experience, better skills to, rise at corporate level and be a better leader? Does that make sense?
so very interesting question, often asked. I'll give a little different answer based on my life experiences and experience as a coach of working with people. To your first point, are women wired differently? We wire women differently. The society, the communities, the home, all of it, and then the workplace wires them differently. And remember, the brain continues to learn, right, based on the
Yeah,
condition.
yeah.
So we have taught them to be sacrificing,
Hmm.
giving, think
Yeah.
of everybody in the family right from
First,
child.
yes,
So
yeah.
when they move, so that skill, that conditioning of the mind has already happened.
Yes,
Now it is about which are the roles they will play, and that conditioning and that mental framework will be used for
yes,
those different roles. So
yeah,
they bring it to whichever roles they play. Today, there are far more women at the workplace at leadership levels. Hence, it is visible. Earlier, it was not visible. When they
yeah,
were doing it in the homes and families, maybe it was not even spoken about that they are so empathetic. It was a
yeah,
given. If
yes,
a woman, she's got to be. But if we go to, the sutras, etc., we talk of feminine energy and masculine energy, right?
yes,
Each one of us as human beings have it.
yes.
We also say that, okay, certain women are more masculine.
Hmm.
That is because they are using those energies more than the feminine energies.
Yeah,
Maybe life threw certain situations at them, and so they had to tap into their masculine energy more than their feminine energy, and they
yeah,
did it successfully, and so it is visible. So it should be seen as a strength, but we tend to stereotype that. Similarly, men, we have a lot of single fathers, single dads. You see, their empathy is far deeper.
hmm.
Then we start saying, oh, that person is so feminine. That man is being
Yes,
feminine. That's because that
yes,
man brought out his feminine energies and skills to deal
yes,
with whichever situation was thrown at him in life.
yeah,
So, hence, women are natural leaders in lot of senses, but there are certain attributes that women have not been encouraged. They've not been wired for, and that's why they struggle in certain. Like they are not so decisive when they have to take split second decisions because they like to consult because that's how they have been conditioned. Right? So I am working with a lot of people to change this narrative itself, that to talk of women versus men. Each of
hmm.
us, each human being comes with their strengths and their challenges, their gifts,
Yes,
and their development areas. As a leader, it is my job to make every person shine, identify their unique strengths, and help them shine. And that's a deep responsibility of every leader. whichever be the title of that leader, even if the leader doesn't have a title. So yes, 80% of my clients have been male leaders, and many of them I am conditioning and coaching to take up skills which are naturally available with the women leaders. Which is what I tell my women leaders, that these you already have. So you work on the other areas, you'll be accelerating your career.
There
I
is
hope
a
that
comment
answers
from,
your question.
yeah, Mr. M.K. Sansgiri. He says that, conditioning the mind is a voyage of experience. It is not easy. It is difficult for anyone. He said that, he and his wife had music in our bucket list. So when you are 70 years old and his wife is 65 years old, we give one stage music performance and he continues his CA music, CA profession. So he agrees with you, sir. He says, Shalini, you are saying everything right. You are talking the truth. His next program is actually in 2 days and it is a great stress buster for them. So, yeah. One more comment from Hina. She unfortunately had to leave for somewhere else. She says, this mindset to have a lifetime transformation overnight is one of the most challenging things. And as a coach, it is indeed a major barrier one has to overcome when you want to open up people's minds and thoughts. Thank you for sharing that. Let me at this
That is
point,
linked to our tendency of instant gratification,
yeah,
and most of us have that. I
yes,
personally had this challenge. So one of the challenges I had to work on much earlier in life, like I said, I was a highly self-aware person, far more
hmm,
than most others. And I realized this is what was coming in my way, the instant gratification. So I was highly determined, perseverant, but when it came to gratification, I wanted instantly. That made me change my decisions and efforts many times. Once I worked on that aspect, a lot of things got sorted in life. A lot of my effort got channelized to the right outcomes. So,
so if there was, one one superpower that was there inside all of us. But somehow we are either not aware or we are unable to tap into it with the brain. What do you think that would be and how would you, like bring it out for all people in the world?
one superpower, the power of silence. It's extremely powerful. And the journey of, becoming aware of that power takes patience. One has to be ready for it, one has to be committed, because there's a lot of turbulence before we arrive at that state of silence.
Hmm.
It's the monkey mind, we always say, right? The chatter that goes on in the head.
Yes.
So if I had to pick one, it is silence. And that's why I emphasize that every day we should spend even 5 or 10 minutes silently with oneself.
Hmm.
So some people kind of fear sitting with themselves alone,
Yes.
right? Now, some of these things came naturally to me at a very young age, back 25 years ago. I discovered the power of solitude. I discovered the power of music. I discovered the power of reflection. So I have journals written since 2000 in my library. And I just sometimes pick up and flip through the pages, that who was I 25 years ago, 20 years
Hmm.
ago.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of conversations that I can have with myself based on that. But all that needs that silencing, accepting that we are blessed, we are powerful, and we can do much better every day.
You know, there can't be any discussion nowadays without the talk of AI because AI is the buzzword. AI is
Yeah.
everywhere. So tell us where today's leaders, how will they survive in the age of AI? And I mean, there can always be a typical answer which says humans have emotion, AI doesn't have emotion, and all that. But AI
No,
is
no, AI will
continuously
have
learning.
emotions also. Very soon, AI will have emotions
That's what
also.
I'm saying. They are continuously learning and adapting, and They will actually become more human than human themselves. So the challenge for leadership in today's and the future in this AI world, what do you think that is, and how do we need to keep up with this?
So I'll go again to the fundamentals of answering this question. What is happening today in the last few years is that every experience that we have, the choice of that experience, how we will experience that experience, and how we will retain that experience is not in our control now. We have given that control to the tools, to the noise outside us. You call it social platforms, you call it AI built. 5 years, 6 years ago, there was not so much AI built into Facebook and social media platforms, right? But today that has also come in. But who gave it the power? We did, right? So today we are at a stage where we are not independently experiencing anything.
Mm.
So we have to reclaim the power of our choices, our experiences, our thoughts, right? We have stopped feeling many times. Just because we share emojis, we don't feel when we share the emoji, do we?
Yes.
So mechanical. So we have stopped ourselves from experiencing the emotion. And somewhere that is changing our wiring, but ultimately we are all humans. We are not transforming to becoming robots, right? The world, nature has created us as humans. So we have to reclaim those abilities of being human. And the only way to start that is silence and meditation, mindful practice of reclaiming that. Otherwise, there is no end to it. But there is also the need for human coaches, was also true human coaches, so not the scripted coaches or the certified coaches, those who have really worked on themselves, their presence, and are constantly working on themselves. Their need will certainly go up, because everybody will need a human connection, a true human connection.
Mhm. And you said about coaches who are constantly learning and, applying and updating themselves. Tell us something which you learned from a coachee or a mentee, something that was a revelation for you also, which helped you rise in your career.
I think the power of a coach comes from learning in every conversation, coaching conversation, not just the journey itself. So if I could share one or two recent ones. So one leader realized that he was using his phone. Again, he's a CEO in a mid-sized company. He was using his phone a bit too much, and his anxiety was actually showing up with that. And then he committed to a practice that he will switch off his phone 2 hours before. So a sleep
Hmm.
practice that we were discussing, as part of it, he committed that he will switch off his phone at least 2 hours before he sleeps.
Wow.
Then we designed that whole commitment in a way so that he gets support through other activities in taking that decision and sustaining that decision. So what does he do for those 2 hours? So that's a motivation. So we brought in time with family, and otherwise that was also a challenge. So he didn't realize the time passing, and that practice was a regular sustained practice. And that was a struggle I was also facing lately, because my work has been growing, and my sleep has been being compromised. In that conversation, I was re-reminded that if this gentleman is doing it, I will also commit to myself. And then I made it a practice to go back to my regular hours of sleep, because I'm a 10 to 4 o'clock kind of person. When I'm my best self, that gives me the most empowering self. So sometimes it's a re-reminder also, because again, I said, oh, my work is priority. How can I let my clients suffer? But this is the
Yeah,
commitment. I'm doing my
yeah,
commitment. This is what my purpose is. So I had all those justifications to barely sleeping 2 3 hours for few months together. And then it was a reminder that, and as a coach, if one is committed to share only what embody the principles that one talks of, this
mm,
comes naturally. And that's been the way I became a coach. So before practicing as a professional coach, I went through a 7, 8 years of journey, which is what many people are not ready to invest, even as leaders, even as coaches. So that makes a difference.
There is this question which Payal has put up, and it has come from Mahima, and I'll read it as it is. So, when neuroscience for leaders actually propagates amalgamation of intellectual and behavioral implementation skills, then why do we still see so many CXOs who display opposite, cultures and values? Recent media coverage also showcased very rigid and tyrant approach towards employees' engagement. When and how do we see this transforming?
This is a very interesting question. It has two parts. Before answering the question, I will bring out the human nature of asking questions, since we touched upon the power of questions earlier.
Yeah.
When we ask a question, how does it help me? And where lies the ownership of the outcome of the question or the answer?
Hmm.
Let's say I give the answer that, okay, this is how the CXO should behave, or this is why they're not able to behave.
Yeah.
How does it help this person who's asked this question?
Hmm.
The person really unconsciously is looking for some support in parking some responsibility or maybe blame on
Hmm.
someone else.
Yeah.
And that is one of the most common barriers. To which I will do a flip that try and understand what is, empathize with the leader as well.
Yeah.
Put yourself in the leader's shoes and think why she or he is doing what he is. And
Yes.
therefore, then I will answer the question, because they have not had a motivation enough, or they've not had the fear of losing their leadership titles because of not having certain skills. They managed to survive in that era. Coming era will not have such leaders. We need to have human leaders who are ready to learn, who own. It's not just about leaders with titles. So, 15 years ago, I had made this quote that whether you want to become a leader with title, who has a title, or a true leader, and the journey of the two is very different. The journey for becoming a true leader versus a leader who holds a title is very different. So
At
that's
this
the
point, let me bring in people from the audience who would like to, say something or ask you a question. Saurabh, I can see is there on his camera on. Dr. Harish Mehta sir is there. Any thoughts, comments? Yes, Harish sir.
Shalini, I am very happy to listen to what you've been speaking. The point is, leadership is individual. Now, why will he do or why will he not do again is his own choice. And he will stick to it because he does not want to let go of him. And he will always say what he fears. And he will not let it come out unless somebody is telling him point blank, this is what you have been doing, accept it and let it go. So I have also been in this leadership role for the last 46 years and coaching CEOs. I feel today's leadership is different than it used to be in our times. Today's leadership needs to respect people, listen to them, and ask them how can we become better, which is coming down from their position, which is rare. Now, young leaders need to adapt this. And the sooner they adapt, the better it is for all the future of our young leaders. So I love the way you have been sharing this. Of course, I was also doing this a couple of years back. I do the Reset Your Mindset program, how to accept to uproot from your current mindset and install the desired mindset. So very nice listening to you, and I was very happy that you have been speaking and you are coaching people. I am also from Delhi, but now last 42 years I've been in Bombay. They
Okay.
didn't leave me when I came here in 1980. So it's been a long time. So great listening to you, and fun. Keep enjoying this and keep spreading this knowledge.
Thank you
And
so much.
I like the way you empathize and speak. Those words show that yes, you are in a position to change the people's lives, provided they are ready to listen and do. Very
If I
important.
could just add one point to your very important point, vital point that you made. They have to let go. They have to be open. They have to listen. The core of these behaviors is really to come from a secure base.
Yeah.
Most of us are battling our own insecurities within ourselves.
Yes.
And to hide that, we show up in different ways. Our behaviors show differently. Okay. That's what we do as coaches. I, as a coach, personally work on how do we address that one area. Rest all then shines.
You know what? Yesterday, CEO of a new insurance company called me up, sir. I'm getting suffocated. The owners want it in a particular way, and I am unable to perform. I said, ask yourself, what do you want? And when you know what you want,
Exactly.
it's waiting to happen.
Exactly.
People call it a miracle. I call it the new normal.
Absolutely.
So you got to get out of that fear that I have enough money
Yes.
or I don't have enough money, but take up the challenge and take the next step and move on forward. That is where life begins. I
True.
did that in 2010, 15 years back. Overnight is the position. Just go and you see what is waiting for you. So it's very, very strong feeling, but how many of them can do that is the question. So it's great, great listening to you, and happy to speak to you sometime.
Certainly. Look forward.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Hari sir. Thank you for your thoughts. Over to you, Payal. No, still you are muted. No, you have to unmute, Payal.
Yeah.
Namaste. Thank you,
Namaste.
Deepak sir, for hosting very beautifully. Thank you, dear audiences, for removing your time on Sunday afternoon. Shalini, what else I can say? What a wonderful 245 talk show. It was a stellar performance, and it was a mini masterclass from you. Wonderful insights. Looking forward to take it offline from your side in near future. We would love to have you in Mumbai and do a masterclass on this. And we are now 5 talk shows away for our 250th milestone. We'll be achieving soon, and would love to invite you, or each and every one of you, to be present and bless us for our event in Mumbai.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me on this show, Payal. Thank you, Deepak ji, for these fantastic, engaging questions. I could just think and, bring out my experiences. Sometimes it actually makes us all think, oh, this was also something that one experienced. So great conversation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Everyone for listening. And
thank you, everyone. Reminding you, next Sunday, 246 non-stop Sunday Bloom Talk Show. Join us at 12:30 India time. God bless us all. See you then.
Thank you.
Bye.
God bless us all. Bye.